Welcome to Rogers That Podcast. Your hosts for today's podcast are
Ariani,
Ellis,
Tracy, Jadia,
and Owen.
and today we have a great opportunity to interview Brigid Guertin, who is the director of the Danbury Museum. Welcome, Brigid. Thank you for taking the time with us to talk today. Our goal is to help our viewers learn more about the history of Danbury and the work you put into the museum. We really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for the invitation. It's fun to be here.
First question, where were you born and where did you grow up?
Oh, I was born in Boston in 1975, and my parents were from Danbury, so they moved back here. And my brothers and I were all raised, my brothers were both born here, and I was raised here.
How many siblings do you have?
I have two younger brothers.
What college did you go to?
I went to Marymount College, which was in Tarrytown, New York, but it was bought out by Fordham a couple years ago, so it doesn't exist anymore. But I did go to grad school, and I went to the George Washington University in Washington, D.C., which does still exist.
What did the Danbury Museum do?
So the job at the Danbury Museum is for us to save the stories. So we are storytellers, and we collect all these different bits and pieces of our community past, and we make them accessible to the public in different ways. So we tell stories through exhibits, we tell stories through programs and events that we put on, and tours. So different people learn different ways, and the museum creates all these different stories because some people prefer to learn one way. They just want to take a tour of the buildings. That's awesome. That's great. But some people do better if they can come in and sit down at a desk and look at the archives that are in the back, all the pieces of paper that are diaries and deeds and letters. And so we make the museum's materials available in storytelling format and in ways that make sense for people and how they individually learn.
How long has the Danbury Museum been open for?
More than 80 years.
Oh, wow.
I know, but we've had different names. So we started off as an arts center, and then we acquired a couple more buildings, and then we are now part of the city of Danbury. So in this latest iteration of who we are the Danbury Museum and Historical Society Authority of the city of Danbury. So like Terry Wild Park is an authority and Richter Park is an authority. The museum fits into that authority structure in the bigger government of the city of Danbury.
What inspired you to work at a museum?
That is a great question. I was never going to work in a museum. So I went to college for my undergraduate's in history, and my master's is now in museum studies, but I went to graduate school for anthropology. And I decided I wanted to be an archaeologist, and that was my goal for a really long time. But I took a class in grad school, and I loved it, and it was all about managing historic houses and historic buildings. And I thought, wow, I think this is really for me. And then because of where my university was located, I was able to take classes actually in the Smithsonian, which was way cool. And so that completely changed the direction of my life. And I decided I wanted to be a museum person because I liked seeing an artifact and being able to tell a story and seeing how that helped people to think differently about persons and cultures and moments in our combined history.
What are some of your favorite things about working in a museum?
Oh, first, access to the artifacts. I kind of get really excited when new things come into the museum, and we receive hundreds of new items a month. And so new things come in, and it's like, oh, it's like a treasure box. You know, you don't know what's in there and how that's going to like help us be better storytellers for a particular story, or maybe teach us something that we didn't know anything about before. So one of my favorite parts is that, and then my other favorite part is getting out into the public and actually being able to be the storyteller, going to grassroots and telling stories there, or going into the Danbury Public School classrooms, or having third graders, remember, come down to the museum and learn about our community stories. So I really like the interaction with the public and with the artifacts.
How does it feel to work at a Danbury Museum?
It's great. When I started working at the Danbury Museum, I was an intern, a grad school intern, and I told the board I was only going to stay for 6 months. And that was 27 years ago. I know, right? So I love being in my hometown. My family has been here for a couple generations, and I married someone whose family had also been here for a couple generations, and so we have lots and lots of family. And being able to raise my kids in the town where I get to tell the stories of our community past, some of which would include their relatives, was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I like it.
What kind of artifacts or exhibits does the Danbury Museum have?
We have this huge collection of what in the museum world we call material culture. So all the bits and pieces, right, that inform the way we live. And we get to do one changing exhibit a year. Most of our exhibits in the Ryder House and the John Dodd Hat Shop, for example, those are stable exhibits. We don't change them very much. But in Huntington Hall, we can pick a new theme every year and create a whole new exhibit. And so this year, in the hall, we have this great exhibit about Marian Anderson's dress collection. Marian Anderson is a very famous contralto. She was a Danbury resident for 50 years, and you learned about her in your third grade tour, and she sang on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial to a crowd of 75,000 people on Easter Sunday, 1939, and was a big part in moving forward the civil rights movement. And we have her costume collection. So like all these crazy dresses that she wore, these gorgeous, beautiful pieces, on some really simple pieces. And right now they're all up in Huntington Hall for people to come in and see. It's fun.
What are some of your favorite artifacts or exhibits at the museum?
Ooh, that is a hard one to answer. I have so many. One time I did an exhibit called Gadgets, Gewgaws, and Gizmos, and it was all like the fun, cool stuff, like kitchen tools and things that are like outdated and we don't use anymore. So I really liked that exhibit. That was a lot of fun. But I think if I had to pick a favorite artifact at the museum, out of all of the artifacts, it is a powder horn from the French and Indian War. And so it was used and carved by people long before the Revolutionary War, people from Danbury, and they took it with them on a campaign that was the northern part of the colonies at the time, and they brought it back, and it's this beautiful, beautiful powder horn that has all of these great designs on it. So it's an artistic piece, and it's a historic piece, and it talks to a time period that we don't know an awful lot about, or we don't talk an awful lot about, I should say. And it's pretty cool. One of my other favorite pieces is about 12,000 years old. I know. It's the oldest piece in the museum, and it's a stone tool that was used by the indigenous people who lived here long before those 8 settlers came out from Norwalk. So 10,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, 500 years ago, indigenous people lived here in Danbury, and we don't have a written record of what they did and who they were, but we have a material culture record, and we have these really cool tools and pieces that they used, and the one that calls to me the most is the 12,000-year-old stone tool.
What are some interesting stories or things about the history of Danbury?
Oh, gosh, there's so many. I think that the interesting story about Danbury is that we rebuild ourselves over and over again. That despite what the world throws at us, despite how awful things can happen, the floods of 1955, the Cohanza Dam disaster, the 1800s, the raid on Danbury by the British in the late 1700s, 1777, we rebuild. It's part of our city motto. We overcome. And I think that is the coolest story that I get to tell over and over again. The death of our major industry, hatting. It brought people from all over the world here. We spoke 27 languages in the early 1900s because of hatting. I know, we speak like 54 now. But hatting industry died. And you would think that the town would die with it, but it didn't. The town is bigger than it's ever been, with people from all over the world speaking even more languages, doing even more work in Danbury. Danbury is a town that overcomes the disasters and the trials that seem to come its way. And each time we reinvent ourselves and we're better. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. This is probably my favorite question.
Okay.
Who are some of the most important people in Danbury's history?
Ooh, that is a big one. Okay, so I'll go with, there's so many. General David Worcester, right? He helped defend Danbury during the 1777 raid by the British. Marian Anderson, amazing national and international icon. Charles Ives, who literally
This
took,
I know.
yeah, he literally took the sounds and the smells, which weren't that good, of Danbury and put them into this music that created the American, it created the American experience that was copied by composers over and over. He's really the father of modern American music, and he was born here. And all those sounds and all of that stuff that he heard as a kid growing up here in his music is a reflection of us then and us now. So there's lots of important people that have called Danbury home, but I think it's the regular people that's whose stories I like to tell just as much. You know, the Jane and Joe Danbury, if you will, the people who just had regular lives and regular jobs. But they lived here, they worked here, maybe they volunteered their time at different places, or they joined different clubs and groups, and they moved Danbury forward. Because the famous people, the people whose names we know, they moved Danbury forward in big ways too, but they wouldn't be able to move Danbury forward unless everybody in the community was working towards, in some way, that same goal, right? Building our lives, building community. And we do that really well now, just like we did it really well in 1684.
When was Danbury found?
Excellent. 1684 to 1685. So we've got this split to dates. So we know that people lived here, indigenous persons lived here for hundreds of thousands of years, hundreds if not thousands of years. And they called this place home. But in 1684, when 8 settlers came up from Norwalk, they had permission of the colonial governor at the time, there wasn't a settled indigenous population here. And so they thought, oh gosh, nobody lives here. Which was true at that moment. And so they came back in the spring of 1685 and they brought their wives and their children and their chickens and their cows, and they created community. So we have that split date, 1684, 1685, and then Danbury goes through this process of becoming like a formal community, and we have different names at different times, and now we're a city. So Danbury is considered a city in the state of Connecticut in the country of the United States.
What hobbies or activities do you enjoy outside of the museum?
That's a good question. I like to read. I am a big reader. I'm a huge fan of the Danbury Library. Everybody have their library cards?
Oh yeah, the library was over there. Where's my program thing?
Yep.
The nails for there that I go to one.
Library's great. So if you don't have a
I
library
like
card,
it.
get a
I
library
have
card.
one.
Good. They're free. And you can take out all kinds of awesome books. You can have access to all kinds of information. So for me, in my spare time, I like to read. And I read and I read and I read. And I don't always read about history or the past. A lot of the things that I read are actually contemporary and have to do with community and culture and self-improvement, really. I've been in a self-improvement kick lately.
What is your favorite sport? What are your favorite teams?
Okay, I have kids who love sports. I have my oldest is a fencer. My youngest likes boxing. My middle guy is into orienteering, and then there's their following of baseball and hockey and football. And so in my household, because I support what my kids like, I am Red Sox, Patriots, Bruins, Celtics. So kind of the Boston teams.
She's a Mets fan.
Those
Oh,
teams
I'm so
are
sorry.
all no, you don't
I'm
have
an
to apologize.
Eagle.
Those are all of in my house. Those are all the enemies of each other's teams.
I'm an Eagle fan.
Also good. So it's fun, right? To be a
Yeah.
fan. It's fun to follow along with your teams. It's good fun.
Yeah.
Except for the Mets.
What is your favorite place to visit in Danbury? It could be any place.
Oh, I think because I grew up here, I had different favorite places at different times. So I love Terry Wild Park. Terry Wild Park and hiking over there.
Oh,
Awesome.
nice hiking.
It is nice, right?
Just enjoy life.
Yeah. I love the library. Library's a great place.
Okay.
If you haven't been to the Music Center to hear a free concert, mwah. Music Center is fabulous. They do all kinds of really cool concerts throughout the year. So sort of depending on the time of the year and what I'm into, I would say those would be like my top three, other than the museum, of course.
We're gonna move on to rapid fire questions,
Okay,
which
I'm ready.
are just quick answers. So the first one is, what is your favorite food?
I have so many. I'm going to go with, I like foods. I think potatoes, because potatoes are versatile and I can cook them in a variety of different ways. And I'm a huge fan of potatoes. I know that sounds silly, but I like cooking them and I like making things that have potatoes.
I like baked potatoes.
Oh,
But
yeah.
take potatoes, like just like eat it.
Yeah, with a little bacon on top.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what my
A little
thing.
cheese.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did that too last time. They did in the oven.
Mm.
That's so good.
Potatoes and cheese go together.
Yeah.
Yes. Or like if you want to eat it like smush, butter.
Yes. With a little milk, a little cream,
Mhm,
a little pepper, a little salt,
Mhm.
potato.
Your favorite drink?
Smoothies.
That makes me. That's
Especially on a hot day.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially like fruits.
Yes, and you can change it up all the time, right?
Yeah.
So like depending on what you have at home, smoothie can be like different. It's not the same thing every single time. So I kind of like that about that too. Versatile.
Favorite pizza topping?
Spinach.
Spinach. Well, that could be good. Like
That's
an
good.
Like pepperoni.
Yeah,
or something.
I like veggies.
I could expect because like Italian people make really good of those.
They do.
What is your favorite vacation spot?
Somewhere wild. So the last couple of years, my family's been privileged to take long road trips, and we've gone to some wild spaces and places. And we've gone all around the Great Lakes. We've gone to a lot of national parks. But I think my favorite national park that I've ever been to is Crater of the Moon. It's in Idaho. And when you're walking through Crater of the Moon, you're walking on this huge volcanic field that's like 2,000 years old, and it feels like you're on the moon. It's a really, really cool place. So it's either that or we went a couple of years ago, we went all the way up to Newfoundland and all the way to the side of Newfoundland. We're right outside the city of St. John, where there's a lighthouse, and it is the furthest, most eastern place on the continent, and that was pretty cool. And we watched the sunrise there.
We're moving to this or that question.
Uh-oh.
Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Starbucks.
Good choice.
Thanks.
Beach or hiking?
I'd pick beach.
You pick beach? What are you going with?
Hiking.
Hiking?
Hiking.
Hiking?
Hiking. Yeah, my dad.
You like to hike?
I say the beach.
I say hiking and then beach relaxation after.
I'll say on a hot day, probably at a beach, and then like a little medium, like coldish, like hiking.
Sort of just depends on the weather and your
It
mood.
depends, yes. And like how much friends are going there, like something.
Yeah, yeah, if you have people to do it with.
Stay at home or go out?
At home.
Okay.
Night owl or early bird?
Oh, total night owl. Total night owl.
Our final question: what advice would you give to someone who wants to become an historian or work in a museum later in life?
I would say volunteer and check it out. Not all museums are the same. We have a lot of similar characteristics in the museum field, but we're all uniquely different. So if you volunteered at the train museum, you would go to a place which is in Danbury, which is awesome. And so you go to the train museum and it's subject specific. So you're talking about trains, you're talking about the railway, and that might appeal to you. Some people like a subject specific museum. The Danbury Museum is a historic house museum and an archive. And so you volunteer and see if that's something you like, because some people are like, oh gosh, no, I want an art museum. So then you maybe go down to the Aldrich in Ridgefields and volunteer there. I would say volunteer and check out the kind of museum space that resonates with you, that you think works for you. That would be my advice.
How can our listeners learn more about the Danbury Museum?
Oh, they can go to our website, so everybody knows, danburymuseum.org. They can follow us on social media. So if you have social media, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram. You can follow us on YouTube. We have a huge YouTube channel. We're constantly putting stuff up there. Not because we're great at content creation. We are not. But largely because we have a huge collection of CDs and DVDs, and they're all starting to break down a little bit. So we had to translate them into a digital format that could live on YouTube so we could save all of these CDs and DVDs. So if you go up, we've got like 400 pieces. But a lot of them show different Danbury people doing different stuff, and it's kind of interesting.
That concludes our discussion with Brigid Guertin. We truly appreciate you spending time with us today to tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is like to work at a museum.
Well, thank you. The opportunity to be here was a gift, and it has been a pleasure having a conversation with all 5 of you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to another great episode of Roger's That. See you next time. Bye.